All you need a detail brush and a smaller flat brush. I have a variety of detail brushes. You're going to want a fine detail brush to do the cables that come down, and I've got just a nice little liner brush right here. As far as the long cables themselves go, you can use a slightly larger detail brush, or you can use the same detail brush throughout the whole thing. I just like to have a variety. And then you will want a slightly bigger brush though for filling in the bridge. Otherwise, if you're sitting there with a fine detail brush trying to fill in the whole bridge, it takes forever. So we're just going to use a flat brush to fill in the bridge. All you need is straight black. And I'm just going to use the same plate I've been using. Alright, got straight black. And I'm just going to dip my brush into it and start filling in the bridge. Now you can take as long with this and be as careful with this as you want. You don't have to try and keep up with me, or if you're really quick, you can fill it in and move on ahead. Alright, then I'm going to just fill in these little supports over here. If you want to get a detail brush to do that, I'll get a larger detail brush to show you right down to the base, the water line here, where the water's going to be. We will add in some water lines once we get the bridge in. Now if you're worried about putting the reflection of the bridge in the water when we get to that point, if you want to reflect the whole bridge in the water and go through and do that, kudos to you. We are not going to do that in this class. What we're going to do is we're just going to put some little shadows in the water where the posts go in, and that's going to be the extent of our bridge reflection in the water today. But if you are feeling ambitious or got a lot of time, you can go through and do the whole reflection of the bridge in the water. And it would be really cool. I'm going to fill in these two big supports here. Now if you want to have a straight edge, you can have a straight edge. You can even use the handle of a brush. You can just, I'm going to end up sticking this in the paint. But you can just put up right against there and run up along, if that works for you. I prefer not to do that. I was just showing you. I tend to get straighter lines actually without all that. and start working on our cables. I'm going to switch to a finer detail brush, and I'm going to really water down my black this time. I'm even going to add just a little bit of fresh paint on there. Oops. Because we want, when you're making thin lines, it's so much easier if your paint is watered down a little bit, because it just goes on so much smoother. But, word of caution, if you water it down too much, you're going to end up with it running down your canvas, and you don't want that either. So I've just got some watered down straight black again here, and I've got a finer detail brush. I'm going to switch to the super fine detail brush when we get to the vertical cables. But for these ones, I'm just going to stick with this one. And we're just going to carefully follow the charcoal line you put down. Right there. Alright, so we've got our bridge mainly blocked in here. We need to just put our vertical cables in. So I'm getting my finest detail brush, and I'm going to really water down this black. I want it like ink. But again, when it's that watered down, I'm going to be really careful with it to try not to drip it on the canvas. And now all you're going to do is just put lines up and down connecting the cables to the bridge itself. Well, I'm going to step actually over to this side to do this. I keep running to the camera. Apologize. The more watered down your paint is, the easier this is going to be. Now, to finish this painting off, we're going to make sure our water looks like water. And first off, what we want to do is just give the hint of a reflection of the bridge, just the posts the supports that stick in the water. We're not going to do the whole bridge in reflection. Again, if you want to, you can, but I'm not going to worry about that. So all I want to do is go into my black paint, and I'm going to just really water it down. I just want a hint of black on my brush. And if you want to mix with a little bit of blue, just to gray it a little bit, you can do that. But we just want a really faint black. So really, really watered down black. And we're just going to scrub in. I've got a detail brush here. Scrub in some zigzaggy little water lines. If you want to use your finger to blend, go ahead and do that. Just keep in mind, the more watered down this black is, the lighter it's going to dry. It's going to dry a little bit slightly transparent. Now notice I'm not putting thick black, streaks down. I'm just doing some little zigzags, little lines. You can use your fingers to soften and blend. Do that with these too. Do that here. Be a little more careful with this big one though. And I keep watering this black down as I go. I dip into the water, and I'll dip into a little black. It helps to keep it thin too. And now we're going to put the final touch, put our water lines in. And for that, I like to use a small flat brush. If you would prefer to use a detail brush, you can do that, or if you want to make some little rough waves, a detail brush is great for that. But I'm just going to do smooth water, because it's faster. And I'm going to put this plate right here. And for this, all we need is some straight white. And I'm going to water mine down. Now, I know my water, and I know your water, is really muddy looking at this point. That is quite all right. You can still use it in your white paint. I've watered mine down, and it looks muddy, but once you mix it up, it's still going to look white on your canvas. So I'm going to make this really watered down. That way I can also make really thin lines. Serves two purposes: really thin lines, and it dries somewhat transparent. All right, again, for this I'm going to slide over this side. Okay, now I'm just going to start at the top here and putting in some water lines. I'm going to put some right at the base of all of these posts. You can make some really short ones or some really long ones. One thing to keep in mind though is to give the illusion of distance. The ones closer to the horizon, you should have the water lines a little closer together. And the ones closer to you, like over here, spread them out. Just a little bit. You can have some close together, but don't clump them all really close together. It'll just help this look like it's farther away. thing, little trick I've learned over the years is a good way to get straight water lines if you're doing calm water. Make sure when you're doing this motion, you're moving, it's just your elbow. It's not your wrist. Your elbow. Your hand stays rigid. It's your wrist or your elbow that's moving, not your wrist. You lock your wrist and move your elbow. All right, and I think we can call that a completed painting. If you want to do the whole reflection, that's quite all right. Or if you want to bring these down even a little further, you can do that. However you want to do it, whatever you think looks right to you. I hope you enjoyed the painting, and I will see you next time. Before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my new classes.